There are 15 movesets in Rogue Demon. Some are good, some are bad, some are really, really good, and some, like what I'm going to talk about today, are really, really bad. Exploding Blood is one of those 15 movesets, and is practically a joke. You use it to make fun of people who are bad at the game. Nothing else. This video will go over this terrible ability, and explain why it urgently needs buffs to make it at least somewhat usable. Before that, remember to like and subscribe for more content just like this. Now, let's get started. Alright, first, let's start off with the positives of this moveset. It has one true combo starter and extender, with another one that's also a combo starter and extender up against a wall. It also has an ultimate that does a lot of damage, and starts a combo if you land it. That's it. Those are the only positives. Now for the negatives, which is what the rest of this video is dedicated to. And oh boy, there are a lot of those. First off, basically everything in Nezuko's moveset is parryable. Body Kicking 1 can be parried, Body Kick M2 can be parried, Exploding Blood M2 can be parried, and Flaming Rage can be parried. It's not just that though, because both Exploding Blood and Flaming Rage are so easy to parry that even a toddler could do it if you told them to press the F key when they saw something happen. Exploding Blood has a very noticeable windup before hits, while Flaming Rage has even more noticeable windup, which practically guarantees a free parry. This is a really big problem though, and not just a minor inconvenience, because Nezuko doesn't even have an evasive. Having no evasive means you can get one-shot comboed by pretty much everything. Water, Insect, and a whole lot of other movesets in the game have combos that either one-shot or deal a ridiculous amount of damage that are basically going to leave you one tap by the end of it. And because of that, getting hit even once, as Nezuko, basically just means death for you because you don't have any way to escape. The problem with this is that Nezuko's kit is very, very average, and also has a lot of stuff that's really easy to parry. One lucky block, and not even a lucky block at that, since it's very easy to just react and press the F key, means you just get hit and get a free combo started right on you. You don't even get to use some of your moves because of just how easy they are to parry, so you're basically down to only 2 moves. All of your other moves just get automatically parried by any player who knows what they're doing, so that you never get to actually use them in a fight. That basically turns you into a worse version of Akaza. Claw Strikes, which is the only good move in this entire moveset, does low damage and is basically a worse version of this order. The whole thing is just a worse version of Akaza that has no evasive at all. And it's basically just the worst glass cannon in the game, with Water and Insect just being objectively better. Water, at least, has Dead Calm and a lot of other moves that are very consistent for combo starting and can easily lead into a 100-0 combo. It also has moves that make it invincible and are pretty hard to punish, actually, because of either their hyper armor or invincibility frames. Insect, on the other hand, while I do think it is pretty bad, it at least has very low cooldowns as a little gimmick that makes it at least usable by some players, even if the combos themselves can be pretty inconsistent. Also, if you're up against a wall with Insect, your opponent basically just dies because you have an infinite combo against a wall. But Insect is another subject for another video. Next, Nezuko, on the other hand, has none of that. She has terrible combos with 2 combo extenders, and her ultimate, which is the crux of her entire moveset that is what's supposed to make it decent, is so easy to parry that it's basically unusable. Against any player who knows how to press the F key, your ultimate and your third move just do not exist. And it's so bad because you need that ultimate. That ultimate is basically the only way you can really win, because your first and second move, Water Good, are just worse versions of stuff that like Akaza and Sound already have. So you're basically playing Akaza and Sound, but you don't have an evasive, and your ult fully depends on your opponent being bad at the game. Everything about Nezuko depends on your opponent being bad at the game, rather than you being good at the game, which is just straight up ridiculous. No moveset in this game should have to rely on your opponent being bad at the game, but this one fully relies on it. No, it's so easy to counter it, that the only way you're going to screw up against this thing is if you literally are blind. Unless you literally do not have eyes, it is impossible for you to not parry either Flaming Rage or Exploding Blood M2. And speaking of Exploding Blood M2, this move is by far the worst move in the entire game, which is a video that I will post on a later date. The thing about this move is that the first version of it basically just sets your opponent on fire, and that's what you need to do to actually use the second version of it. However, the first version is very, very easy to block, so that's one thing that's easy to counter. And the second version is quite literally a free parry. There's so much startup before you actually go and use the move that it only takes like one tap of the F key before you just die if you try using this move. You don't use this move at all in a fight. No good Nezuko player will ever touch this thing. And honestly, there are no good Nezuko players. Anybody who uses Nezuko and ends up doing well with it usually is maining something else that's so much better, because you can't really use Nezuko and consistently win. Because Nezuko isn't based on your own skill, it's based around your opponent's lack of skill. And that's what's so crazy about it. All of the moves are so easy to counter except for the first two, that you basically just do not get to use them unless your opponent doesn't know how. If you're comboing someone and try to use Exploding Flaming Rage, it's just going to get parried. Meanwhile, if you try to use Exploding Blood M2 as a gap closer, it doesn't work because they also just parry it. And speaking of gap closers, it's very, very easy to just run from Nezuko because it doesn't have any ranged moves, except for Exploding Blood, which as we talked about before, is useless. You have no gap closers, like Sound and Akaza, so you're basically just relying on your opponent coming to you and not running away from you. It's just so useless that you basically cannot chase anyone down. And while Sound and Akaza, yes, do have this problem, the thing is that they at least have an evasive and other decent moves. And Nezuko, on the other hand, has no evasive and only has two decent moves, one of which can only really combo extend against a wall for it to be true. Because while Bloody Kick M1 can combo extend without a wall sometimes, the knockback can make it pretty inconsistent, so you really have to be careful when doing that. Because if you're fighting a water-breathing user and they pop dead calm after you use Exploding Bloody Kick M1, well, guess what? You just got one comboed. How fun. The whole thing has below average offensive power despite being a glass cannon. And the whole thing is a glass cannon without the cannon. The thing about this is that it's just water breathing and insect, but you can't one-shot combo people. And that's just stupid. And the reason why I say you can't one-shot combo people is because Flaming Rage does not lead into a one-shot combo. Because it's not true. Any good player will just press the F key and parry the move. And you don't even have to be good either. If you have something like water, you can always just spam your spam flowing dance and invincibility frame out of the move, and wow, now you've escaped. How fun. Like, there's so many ways to counter Flaming Rage, which is what people call the good part of this moveset. It's kind of ridiculous. The move is good if you land it, but the problem is actually landing it. If you land it, sure, you win. Though, to be fair, this is something Rengoku can do, and be a lot more safe doing, but I digress. However, landing it only happens when you're fighting someone who is so dumb that they do not know how to press the F key. The whole thing sucks, so let's wrap this video up. All in all, Exploding Blood is straight up just useless. The only thing it's good for is giving someone mental trauma if you somehow manage to beat them with it. It's Akaza, but you nerf the damage by a ton and take away Scream. There's practically nothing you can do with this thing, whether you have skill or not. Using Nezuko relies on your opponent being bad and not you being good. It's a scrub killer of Rogue Demon and nothing else. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more content just like this. As always, I'm Noob Eternally, and I'll see you next time on another video. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.